I'm leaving for Disney tomorrow, so I'm gonna harvest a few things from the garden to eat as snacks on the trip, but also because things are just gonna start over-ripening while I'm gone. The first thing I'm gonna grab is some cantaloupes. I have a bunch dangling right here, and there's a lot of other ones starting to form barely, but I saw one this morning that already slipped off the vine, so let me go ahead and show you. I made these macrame hangers. I need to make a lot more actually, but look at this cantaloupe. It is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. And it smells really, really good. I just hope it tastes just as good. And because I have the macrame hanger, it just kind of waited there for me until I was able to come get it. But look how pretty it is. There's a bunch of other ones, but I don't think these are ready yet. I also have all of these, but they're still green. I don't know if they're supposed to change color because I don't know exactly what variety they are, but they're still holding on to the vine. So at least if they ripen while I'm gone, they'll just fall into the macrame hangers. But one thing I do need to get is Armenian cucumbers, which I think are on the other aisle. Also, the ants are back in the garden, so that's been fun. Look, I'm gonna take all of the bigger ones I can find, because there's still a bunch of baby ones coming in, and in 5 days these will get massive if I don't take them. Oh, there's some up here. Oh, there's even ants up here too actually. So aside from picking them so that they don't over ripen while I'm gone, I'm also picking them right now so that the vines keep producing more, because if I leave all of those on there, it's gonna think that it's done for the year, and I wanted to keep making more. Yeah, I'm trying to look because, oh, see, sometimes they just kind of hide. And because my family loves these, I want to make sure that I take enough for everybody be able to enjoy. Okay, I think that might be it. Is it? Looks like another one right here. Oh shoot. This one's starting to turn and curve. Okay, there's another one. Okay, I think that's good. If there's any other ones that are hiding, I'll find them when I get back, and then the little ones will get bigger. Okay, this is the basket so far. Let's keep going. Okay. This is my pineapple guava tree, and then there's a bunch of loofah vines going crazy. So I have some loofah right here, but I think I saw an Armenian cucumber in here the other day. Yep, hold on. Oh, I don't want to hurt my hand. Look at this, that thing's huge. Okay. Whew. I'm also making pesto, so I'm gonna harvest all the basil I can find. The only thing is that this is almost completely full. So I think before I harvest the basil, I'm gonna finish off by harvesting Roselle, and I'll make some jam. Jam. I'm gonna grab the biggest calyxus that I can find, and I'm gonna get a good amount. I think this would be good for breakfast to spread on toast. And then this way also it can just keep blooming for me, because I haven't been out here to harvest it since my hand was messed up. But now that I'm starting to feel better, I'm ready to roll. There's so many. Oh my god. You know, last year I didn't really get to harvest any of these because it got really cold really fast, and I started them way too late because I direct sowed them. These I transplanted back in, I think like it was either April or May, but I started way more than I thought I would need, because last year I direct sowed a ton of seeds and the rats ate them all. And possibly the birds too though. Some of these calyxes get huge. I'm gonna let the rest of these get a little bigger while I go harvest from the other plants. Oh my goodness. All of this is not just jamaica, it's jamaica and sweet potato vines. So that's why they're going kind of crazy. And I haven't harvested them yet, but I probably will in the next few weeks. Oh. I think that should be good enough. I just grabbed another basket to fill up with basil. And this that you see right here is the blackberry that I tried to get rid of. And it grew back like a monster. So I'm gonna have to dump out all the soil in order to really get rid of it. Look at how massive this basil is. I'm gonna cut all of it back. And I'm doing this right before the trip, even though it's stressful. That way things can just be as fresh as possible, because we're gonna be over there for like 7 days. And this plant should grow back by then. Right now, while I'm prepping everything, my husband is gonna be doing all the grocery runs, getting all of the rest of the ingredients that we need. I'm driving just basically all over town picking up the last minute things. Oh, also I have one of my apple trees back here. So this summer I was scared that my apple trees wouldn't make it, because they haven't in the last few years. So one thing I did was to plant some basil right here, because I knew that basil can tolerate the heat really well. And that way it would block some of the sunlight from getting to the apple tree so that the apple tree could survive. And it totally worked. Look how gorgeous it is. This is another one of my basil bushes. Also very huge. I'm gonna cut off as much as I can. Okay, and then okay, I think that's good. I mean, it's still pretty huge, but I'm gonna leave that be because I have more basil that I'm gonna grab. Oh. First, nope. Maybe that's enough basil. No, I'm gonna grab a little bit more. Just a little bit more. That right there might be enough basil. I think I got everything I needed, so I need to go inside now. I'm gonna hurry. Just a heads up, as soon as we get into the kitchen, it's going to be very loud. So I would recommend turning the captions on if you wish to do so, or maybe turning the volume down, because it is going to be rather loud in my kitchen. And that's why I love being in the garden, because I feel like it gives me a little bit of silence, a little bit of peace. But whenever I'm inside of the house, I have baby gremlins, which means that it's constantly loud. And in this case, they were super excited about Disneyland. So they were watching videos about Disneyland rides and then Disney movies as well. And I didn't want to interrupt that, because I was just as excited as they were, and I wanted them to enjoy this space. And because our kitchen is right next next to the living room, you can pretty much hear everything. So I'm trying to do a lot of voice isolation to tone down the background noise, but I'm just giving you a heads up that it's gonna be pretty loud. So keep that in mind before we head inside. I'm back indoors now, and I'm gonna start off by cleaning off all of the basil because there might be worms on here. So all I'm doing is taking off the leaves because I don't use the stems, and I'm going to put them into a bowl with some salt water to kill off anything else that might be in there, and I'm just gonna let it rest for a while. And if you've never gardened before, it's probably gonna freak you out seeing things like this, because there's been like little worms that once in a while come and eat some of the veggies. And when I first started gardening, I was like, why don't my veggies look like the ones from the store? Like, they're not perfectly shaped, they're not pristine. But then I realized that the stuff that I buy at the store, it looks perfect because the bugs don't want to eat it because it's sprayed with stuff. And this is all natural, just a little imperfect, but still perfect. So all I'm gonna do is just take off the leaves. And I am not too gentle about this. When I have time, I am. One thing I usually do with the basil is to propagate these stems, just pop them in water, and in a few weeks they root, and then I can plant them again. But I'm not gonna do that right now because I already have a ton of basil in the garden, like so much basil I can barely keep up with it. And it's also cooling down a lot, and basil is one of those heat loving crops where during the summer months when a lot of my other plants are like struggling, the basil is hanging in there and happy as can be. But now that the nights are starting to get a little bit cooler, it's trying to bolt, which means that it's basically done and trying to make seeds.
You harvest a melon?
I did harvest the melon. It's a cantaloupe. I thought I could slice it up for Disney. What do you think?
Yeah, we should slice it up for Disney.
Yeah?
Or you can slice it up, then get something to put the slices in, and then you can get 3 more and put them in. Then we can take them to Disney.
What?
Yeah.
All right then. Sounds like a plan, baby.
Mommy, what does 3 and 1 make?
Is it 5?
No, 4.
Oh, you're right. It
What
is
does
4.
5 and 5 make?
Is it 10?
Yeah.
I got it right.
What does 6 and 4 make?
Is it 9?
No, 8.
8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, you're so right. Oh my God, you're a genius.
What does
6 and 6. Does that make?
That makes 11.
6 and 6?
Yeah.
Let's count it out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because we have to do this again.
But are you sure that 6 plus 6 equals 11? 6 plus 6 equals 12.
What does 12 and 12 make?
12 and 12 is 24.
Good job.
I have all my basil leaves right here, so now it's time to fill it up with water and salt and let it rest.
Mommy, and the new step.
We're just gonna cook the noodles the day that we're gonna eat them, and then I'm already gonna have the pesto ready to go, so we can just toss it in there. It'll be a nice cold pesto salad. So I'm gonna set that to the side for like a while. Next, I'm gonna start working on the jamaica. So I'm gonna use this to make jam. This jam is not gonna be stored for very long. We're literally gonna start eating it tomorrow. I usually use jamaica to make jamaica drink. It's also called sorrel in some places of the world, or Roselle hibiscus, and there's a few other names. Some people have asked me, I thought jamaica was hibiscus, and this actually is hibiscus. So today I'm only gonna make it into jam because that way my kids can spread it over toast while we're over there. This is what you find as jamaica dried in the stores, except it tastes so much better when you grow it yourself because it tastes fresh. The one at the store usually has a little bit more of a bitter taste to it. So I'm gonna put all of those in there. I usually just cut off the bottom, make a slit on the side, and then I peel it off. And then these I'm gonna keep because these have natural pectin in them. So that's gonna help me make the jam. Ugh. But you know what? It's so nice because whenever my kids are craving something like Jamaica, they're like, oh, can we have Jamaica for dinner? I'm like, yeah, sure, just go harvest some Roselle. They come in with handfuls of Jamaica and they drink it fresh like that, and oh, it makes me feel so happy. This is honestly one of my favorite plants to grow in the garden because it tolerates the heat really, really good. I planted mine, I think, around April or May. So the plants that you guys saw in the garden are like, what, 5-6 months old? And in some places they can be grown as perennials. But in the garden, I usually start fresh every single year just because I like to move them around, because this is one of the plants that can get root knot nematodes, I think is what it's called. So I just like to rotate them. Plus the plants get really, really massive. So one year I'll grow one in a bed and the next year I'll switch it over to the next bed. And they grow very easily from seed. You can start them as transplants or you can direct sow them, which means just popping the seeds into the garden. But I have found better luck just transplanting them because when I just direct sow, there's just so many factors that I can't control, like rats and birds eating them. And transplanting them is just really, really easy. They don't really seem to mind the transplant that much. I mean, these plants have been super productive. I think last year I didn't transplant any. Last year I direct sowed all of the ones that I thought I was gonna grow. And unfortunately, I got a super, super tiny harvest. It was nowhere near enough. So this year I was like, girl, I'm gonna make up for that. I'm gonna plant a ton. So this year I think I planted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I planted like 5 of them in the garden, and then I had also planted like another 5 in my front yard, but it got so hot this summer that it killed off all of them except one. And the one that did survive is really, really small still compared to the ones in the garden, and it's barely starting to make calyxes. Meanwhile, the ones in the garden, I already have a bunch of them ready to go. You know what ride I really, 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 really want to get on is the swings. I got on it for the first time last year with my sister and it felt so beautiful. I literally was in tears. I don't know why. It made me feel so emotional, and it was at night when everything was like nice and lit up. Oh, it was just beautiful. I can't wait to bring you guys along. We have one more big trip coming up this year, but I don't think I'm gonna wind up making too much for that one because we're gonna be traveling really far. But for places like Disney or any theme parks, I always love packing our own food. I think it works out the best. I don't think I'm gonna do the Armenian cucumbers right now. I think I'm just gonna take those, I'm just gonna wash those, pat them dry, and then we can cut them up in California. Because the good thing about those is you don't really need to peel them. So I'm just gonna bring them with me. Well, we'll see. I'll wait for my sister to get here. My sister is also coming over later today to help me finish up whatever we need. But I still need to make things like hummus, ranch, pesto. It's just a lot. And I need to bake my bread still. Now that I have all my Jamaica ready, I'm gonna wash it really good. And I'm also gonna wash all of the seed pods really good. And then I'll start making a jam. First, I'm going to put some of these to boil to try and start releasing some of that pectin, and then I'll add in the rest of my Jamaica. This is all of the seed pods from the Jamaica, and I think it's starting to thicken enough to where I can take them out now. It's starting to become very like jelly-like. It's starting to become really thick, so I'm gonna scoop them out. I'm gonna try and get all the seeds out of there too. Next, I'm gonna add all of my washed Jamaica. I know that looks like a lot, but it's gonna cook down into nothing. And sugar. You see how it's already starting to go down a little bit? And as it cooks, it's gonna break down until it turns really nice and thick. For now, I'm gonna put the top on so that I can start cooking down very slowly. And then after a while, I'm just gonna take off the top and let it reduce. I grew this butternut squash in the garden last year, and I'm finally gonna use it for Disney. So I think I'm gonna turn it into calabaza enmielada, or calabaza en tacha, calabaza en dulce. Oh my gosh, look how pretty it is. Which is basically gonna be like a candied butternut squash. Oh wow. Think about this, smart girl. Let's see. Oh, freaking cute. I have actually another pumpkin growing in the garden right now, and I don't know if it's like a butternut squash or what variety it is, but we should have a bunch of them popping up soon. There's a lot of male flowers right now, and the female flowers are probably going to start blooming when we're away, but I'm not too worried because ever since I put up the shade cloth, there's been a ton of bees in the garden again. So what I'm going to do is cut it up into chunks and put it in a little pot. I don't have any piloncillo. I thought I did, but I can't find any anywhere. So I'm just gonna use brown sugar. I'm gonna put 2 cinnamon sticks in there and a couple tablespoons of brown sugar. Just like that. And I'm not gonna add in any water. Should I? No, I'm not gonna add in any water because it should start reducing on its own. I'm just gonna put it on the stove and cover it up right away. This is what the butternut squash looks like right now. It smells delicious. And I didn't add any water because it's gonna release a lot of its own juice. Oh, but it smells so good. It smells just like fall. Look how beautiful that looks. Oh, and it smells delicious in this house. So I should have probably peeled it beforehand. It's too late for that now, baby. Should I just leave the skin on? So the next thing I'm gonna start doing is actually smashing this a little bit, because I wanted to reduce, since I want to use it as more of a spread. And then I'll try and fish out the skins right now. I had the top on and now I'm just going to take it off. That way it can start thickening up. Start taking these out. Next I'm gonna add in pumpkin spice. Whoa, that's a lot. Okay. It's cool. It's cool. Let me mix it in. It smells like Christmas. Now I'm gonna let it keep reducing until it gets really nice and concentrated, and then I'm gonna add in a little bit of butter. Pumpkin spread is done. How do you do this? Now I'm just gonna let it cool down. I have a lot of stuff going on right now. But these are the 2 loaves that I made last night. These are sourdough sandwich bread, so I'm just gonna pop these in the oven. This has been here for a while now, so I'm gonna drain it, rinse it, and then I'm gonna start fixing up the pesto. So much basil. So this is not gonna be like a traditional pesto because it doesn't have actual cheese in it or pine nuts, but it's still gonna taste really good. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want a little bit of a taste, so I'm gonna add in some lemon. Now, nutritional yeast. Instead of pine nuts, I'm gonna use walnuts. So I'm gonna put in like 2 good handfuls because it's a lot of basil. And some salt and olive oil. A really good amount of olive oil. Apparently the top is washing, so I have to wait like a good 2 to 3 hours in order to blend this up. But okay, at least it's ready to go. This is what the jam is starting to look like right now. It's definitely starting to break down. Usually what I like to do is blend it up to make it really nice and smooth. But I think I'm just gonna have to cook it down and just mash it up because my blender's full of pesto stuff that I can't finish up for another few hours. I think I'm just gonna let this cook down. I'm also gonna add in some cinnamon in here. I think that's gonna make it taste really good. And maybe 2 cloves. This way it can be a little more spiced. And it won't taste like we're just having Jamaica candied. This is the first loaf and it looks beautiful from this side. But it looks kind of funky on this side. Oh well. And then this one came out looking hideous from this side. I don't know why that happened. The last thing I'm gonna do is just coat the top with a little bit of butter. That way it stays nice and glossy and beautiful.
Oh, they look beautiful.
But look at this one.
I don't care.
You guys are such sweethearts. There's a part of me that just wants to crack into this one right now and eat it with some fresh jam. But I'm gonna hold off because we're about to eat lunch. It smells really good though. I'm not gonna blend this up, I'm gonna pulse it.
Can I try it?
Wait, it's not ready yet. Lemon juice. That is so yummy. Okay, so I'm gonna store this, pop everything in the fridge, and I think that's it. Oh no, I still need to make hummus. The sourdough sandwich bread, I'm using the recipe from Farmhouse on Boone, except I'm excluding the egg. I think this is our last bag of flour. By the way, it's been really hard having to do things with one hand. 2 days ago was when I first started using this hand a little bit more. And now I feel like it's a lot better, but I still need to get my stitches out. And ow. Did I just get a paper cut? Oh my God, I did. I cannot catch a freaking break. Actually, first I'm gonna do some sourdough artisan bread. 2 cups of active starter. Ooh, look how bubbly it is. 2 cups of this. Wait, I need a spatula. Where are my spatulas? Oh. This one makes 2 loaves. And I only have 2 bannetons, so I can only do 2 loaves. But if I had more, I would definitely be making like 4 so that I could take some for everybody else. And I'm still gonna share with all my family, but it'd be pretty cool to just make everybody every family their own loaf. Ooh, that paper cut is burning right now. Next, I need the water, 2.5 cups of filtered water. And then I have this sourdough hook. No, what is this? A Danish hook that I use to go like this. Honestly, sourdough bread is so easy to make. It doesn't even feel like I'm baking, which is good because I don't really like baking. And it's so simple that I feel like I can do it every single time. So I'm left with this. 6 cups of flour. Well, it says bread flour. I don't have bread flour. It just says regular. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm also going to add salt in here, but first I'm going to mix this up roughly, and then I'm going to let it sit for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to have to come back, add salt in, and after that, every 30 minutes, I'm going to have to stretch it. But it's honestly not that bad. I just come, do a couple of stretches, and then I go and do whatever I need to do, which is packing. I haven't finished packing. Oh my God, I'm starting to stress out a little bit. But you know what though? Before trips, I stress out bad because I'm like rushing, trying to make all these snacks and prep for a bunch of meals so that we can enjoy other foods, but we don't go broke enjoying other foods. And even though sometimes it can be annoying having to do this right before going on a trip, on top of trying to leave the house spotless so that we come back to a really clean home, it's so worth it in the end because then we're waiting in lines, the kids are hungry, and oh, we have slices of fresh Armenian cucumbers, and we have healthy snacks for them so that their tummies don't hurt, and oh, it's just so worth it. Anyways, I think this is looking pretty good. I'm just gonna take off this little piece right here. There we go. So this is what I'm left with. Now I'm gonna cover it up with a damp towel, and I'm gonna let it rest for 30 minutes. So let me just go get this down. Off to the side. Next, I'm gonna work on my sourdough sandwich bread. 2.5 cups of water, 8 cups of flour, 1, 2, 3. Making bread definitely uses up a lot of flour, but making sourdough bread is still so much cheaper than buying it at the store. So that's what we're gonna do around here. And 1 cup of active starter. Wait, maybe I should take this thing out of here. Oh, I still have a little bit left to make more sandwich bread for you guys.
Are you done with that? Can I look?
Sure. Give me 1 second, girlfriend.
Can I look?
Okay, next we're gonna need 1/2 cup of butter softened or coconut oil.
And it's based on a rye.
2 tablespoons of honey or sugar.
That was another version. And this is the
1 tablespoon of salt. 2.5 cups of water. And I think that's it. That's a lot of dough.
Welcome, foolish mortal. You are
We're all going to go on this ride at Disney.
Now I'm just gonna let it go until it's really nice and stretchy. Now I'm back to working on my sourdough. Looks like this. I'm gonna add in my salt. And then I'm gonna start folding it in like this. Now I'm gonna cover it back up again and set it off to the side for like an hour. After the hour's up, I'm gonna keep stretching my sourdough every 30 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go pack. I have my bannetons ready. So I'm gonna put my cloth on there. These came with like a little cover for them, and I don't know what happened to it. Actually been a few months since I last saw them. And it's been months, but I still have not bought rice flour, so I'm just using tapioca starch. In my opinion, it works rather well. And it just prevents it from sticking. I do have rice flour somewhere. I remember seeing one. Okay, oh well, I'm still gonna use this one for now. Me after eating cheese. Okay, that's a really bad joke. Okay, bad joke. Then I'm gonna split it into two. Okay, this I think is the most satisfying part, is just rolling it into a ball. Uh-oh, don't stick. Don't you stick on me. Oh, it's so...
It's not easy being my brother's daughter got me pulling my hair.
Oh, look at all those the bubbly pieces of goodness, deliciousness. Okay. Now I'm gonna just start rolling.
I know.
Okay, there we go. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Now I'm gonna plop it in there. Just a little bit more on top. Okay. There's my first one. And then I'm just gonna lightly cover it back up. So that way it can just keep expanding in the fridge.
These for the kids. For you guys, for your toothbrushes.
Nice.
I don't know, this one was mismatched, but
It's all good. That way we'll be able to tell them apart even better. By the time I got around to making the sourdough sandwich bread loaves, I was beyond exhausted. I thought for sure that I'd be in the kitchen for maybe a few hours at most, but I spent pretty much all day cooking and baking to prepare for this Disney trip. And although it was a lot of hard work, I knew it would be worth it over the next 5 days once we were out of the house. And as I worked in the kitchen, I still felt pretty happy, even though you can't really tell by my face because I just look exhausted. But I was really proud of the harvest that I was able to get for this trip, because a few weeks ago, the garden was not necessarily bare, but it was very dry and crispy. If you go back to a couple of videos ago, or even the garden tour that I did prior to the garden transformation, you can see how the trellises were just covered in dried vines. There was no fruit anywhere. A lot of my plants weren't even producing. They were just in survival mode. And the majority of the plants that were still alive were just scorched and not really growing at all. And it definitely took a lot of hard work and sweat to set up the shade cloth, to replant things, to top all the garden beds with fresh compost, reset all the drip irrigation, and then go through and start over in my garden to transition it from summer to fall. And all of that was worth it, because today I was able to walk through the same pathways, and instead of being surrounded by dried foliage, I was surrounded by lush green vines, and the trellises were filled once again and dangling with fruit, and that's exactly what I wanted. And the best part is that this is only the beginning. As the weather continues to cool down, the garden is really going to start ramping up, and I'm going to be harvesting a lot more baskets full of produce. It's just that during the summertime is basically our off season, and in many cases you can still garden, but because the temperatures are just so extreme, it's a lot more difficult to garden. But the garden in the fall is probably my favorite out of the entire year, just because it looks gorgeous. Things are blooming, things are producing. It pretty much makes up for the dreadful summer that we had. And in the last few videos, I have been hinting at the most special harvest of the year, and this is not the most special harvest of the year. This is just an additional harvest for this trip that we had been planning since last year. But I encourage you to stay tuned, because the most special harvest of the year is upcoming in a couple of weeks, and I hope that by then Serendipity is producing even more. But just being able to make meals for this trip using the harvest that I got today is a great accomplishment for me, especially considering where we started a few weeks ago. With that said, I'm gonna let you go because I need some rest, but next time we see each other, I will be either on the way or already at the amusement park. So I'll see you then.